What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing today? Thank you if you guys are here. Thank you guys for joining my channel and appreciate how things go. So far, things are going good. So I've trying again a different streaming setup. Before I had StreamYards, which was nice and easy to set up, but wasn't willing to pay $30 a week to have that. So trying now with Ecamm, based off a friend. But let me know how I sound. Let me know how I sound and how things are going. So put your stuff in the chat. So welcome, welcome, welcome. As is mentioned in the title, today we got quite a few announcements and sort of things that have developed. Right now we have Sony kind of hinting at that they may be interested in applying open gate. That seems to be something based on an interview with fellow YouTuber Amanda Ferreira, aka Mondo Bites. So we're going to talk about what they exactly said. And in here, also, Fujifilm has revealed what is possibly the final specs of the GFX Eterna. So we'll look at them and look all the features that they're going to be providing, and we'll check that out. And then finally, I don't like to leave on potentially a bad note, but if this is potentially true, we got to talk about it. But it may be that sometime either today or tomorrow, President Trump may be signing an executive order that would ban all Chinese drones in the United States effectively. We'll touch more on that. So what does that mean for DJI and Autel? That's a lot. Again, we'll discuss that at the end of the hour. So let's see here. We got people in the chat. So let's see here. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Seems like sound is going good. Again, this is a bit of a newer setup, so appreciate your patience. But forgive me if I don't know how to say your name, man, but thank you for joining. Waiting for news on the A7 IV. We all are too, man. So hopefully we will, but we shall see. All right, cool. So that's how you highlight comments. All right, gotcha. And I actually got a guest with us today, and I am going to get ready to bring him on. Let me take this off for a second. And let me go ahead and cut to him. And is he here? Oh, there he is. So there you go. All right, that's better. Okay, like I said, we're new here. We're doing it live. As you guys can see, we got Simon Yates here with us for a brief time. I know thank you, Simon, for joining. For those of you that may not be aware, this is Simon Yates. He is the host and owner of the YouTube channel Ordinary Filmmaker. So if you've heard any rumors regarding Canon, Sony, Nikon, he's one of the people you probably have heard it from. And is it safe to say that you are now a sort of a contributor to a certain website as well?
Yes, I am now working with CanonRumors.com as a contributing author. You might have noticed there's an article there this morning that's doing quite well. It's actually written by me. Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, as always, man, thank you. You probably see me on a lot of times on Simon on his channel. So I'm thankful that he was able to come to my channel and sort of as we discuss these rumors. So, and I know you got a bit of a short time period, so let's not waste any time and let's sort of get into it. So, we're gonna start off with Sony. So, Sony did, I believe he's tied to the market. I can't remember, but a representative of Sony went on Mondo Bytes' channel and did an interview. And a lot was discussed, and there's a lot of interesting comments that sort of give you the idea of what Sony sort of has in mind with the launch of the FX2. And that was really the main talking point of the interview, was sort of discussing why did Sony make the FX2, especially since there was quite a bit of polarizing opinions about the camera, myself included. I felt it was interesting that they chose a camera that with a sensor that they're potentially looking to basically move on from on the A7 from the A7 IV to potentially what could be the A7V. But that was not the most interesting part of the interview. I mean, all of it was interesting, but what caught my attention was the talk when they started talking about OpenGate. And I'm going to cut to just a brief portion of the interview so you guys could hear, and basically what he said, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So again, this is Mondo with Mondo Bytes. Definitely check out the channel if you haven't, but here we go.
How come you didn't talk about OpenGate?
Yep.
I know people are going to ask that, so I do want to talk about OpenGate and why, first of all, why hasn't Sony implemented OpenGate on other cameras? And I don't even know if you can answer this, but if like, is there a possibility that we'll see that in future Sony cameras?
So basically, there are two major benefits of the OpenGate. Number one is anamorphic application.
Right.
Number two will be the social media application with the 2-frame crop. Right. So I think like at the Sony, especially on the cinema line, we definitely see the value of the OpenGate in the anamorphic support. That's the reason all our Cine Alta cameras have the OpenGate.
Right.
That we can use a PL mount, accept all the anamorphic lens in the market. Right. So however, on the social media, on the level, and I know a lot of people doing that,
Right.
but maybe there's a better alternative, or there's other way to do it. Because for example, and how many people really need a 6K recording and crop into 4K?
I mean, if we're being honest, probably not very many.
Not very many.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I would say like the OpenGate thing in Sony's aspect is really fulfill your want or provide what you need.
Right.
And at the Sony, and what we more look at is we will provide what you really need for the job, and that's the number one priority. We need to fulfill the professional users' need.
Gotcha. Okay, and does that?
All right. So let me come on. Stop hearing that in my ear. So the commentary is like basically saying, in terms of social media, they don't necessarily see the benefit of OpenGate, which that's the part that got a lot of attention. But the part that caught my attention was that they see a need for it in terms of anamorphics. And because anamorphics has, and I'll bring Simon back into this so we can join this conversation as well. But essentially, in the interview, he was saying they do see a potential in anamorphics. They don't have anything to say right now, but it is something that they're going to look at. And this was particularly interesting in the timing that this happened, because this summer that he also sort of mentioned right before this part is that they're going to put out a firmware update where the FX3 and the FX30 are going to get 1.5D squeeze anamorphic. And later in September, there's also going to be another firmware update where they'll at very least output Blackmagic RAW. So there's still developments into the FX3 and the FX30. So I'm taking that more of that OpenGate may be coming to something like the FX3 and the FX30 a little bit sooner than maybe we may be intention, or at the very least, it will come to the next gen of those cameras. Simon, what are your thoughts on it?
This takes me back to, I don't know, almost 10 years ago when Sony was pushing 4K in a lot of their cameras. Canon wasn't doing it. They were becoming a leader, and year after year, Sony was releasing a model with 4K. And yes, they overheated, but we could get 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes of 4K. It looked great. We didn't care so much about the overheating because we got something incredible, and they kept making it better and better and better. And now here we are today. Everybody's doing 4K at almost every price point. I get a sense that OpenGate is the next big push. We're seeing pressure everywhere in the release of new cameras. We're expecting, according to the rumors, that the R5 Mark II, this guy right here, which actually has heat pipes now, right? So we're seeing cameras that would have stuff we didn't have before. They are incorporating that into it. So when it comes to OpenGate, yeah, we're hearing rumors of OpenGate coming to the R5 Mark II once they fix the autofocus and battery issues. Panasonic is, how many Panasonic cameras do we have with OpenGate now? I think they have it on some of their cameras.
I think I count 6. I mean, because you got to go back to, if you count if we're counting the Micro Four Thirds, you got you got the GH5, the GH5S, the GH5 II, actually more than 6. You got the S1H, you got the S5 II, the S5 IIX, the S1R2, and the S1 II. And then also the GH6, the GH7, and the G9 II. So that's 11, I think. 11 cameras that have that recording option. And then you got Blackmagic too with their cameras that have that are putting out OpenGate. And then from a APS-C, you got Fujifilm with quite a few cameras of their own.
So you see how it's building.
Yeah. No. Like I said, I totally agree, man. And also, I think this is something that Sony sort of sees the writing wall, because I've recently been seeing videos where people are like literally trying to find hacks to do quote unquote like OpenGate. Now, it's not a lot of them are not like true OpenGate, but they're doing is like they're like putting the anamorphic lens at 90 degrees to sort of kind of squeeze it into like a 4x3 or 3x2, but it's not true OpenGate because they're still not utilizing the full sensor. But I recently saw someone who actually basically converted into the photo mode, and they basically to the Atomos Ninja, and that's how they were able to sort of technically shoot OpenGate. Now, I think when you do that, you limit it to an 8-bit. You limit it to 8-bit when you do it like that.
There is a whole architecture behind this. So one thing we got to understand, by doing OpenGate, heat, more heat, right? So that has to be dealt with. Now, it doesn't mean that they might not have some sort of record limits on it, but there's no reason not to bring it out. However, what I see is, if we look at RAW, for example, OpenGate's one step above RAW, right? Because it gives you more information. But RAW gives you an awful lot of information. Where do we see that in cameras? Do we see that in the entry levels? No. Do we see that in mid-level? Well, we're starting to see a little bit of it. But generally, you have to spend a lot of money to get RAW. And I think OpenGate, we're finally starting to see RAW in more cameras. And I think we're going to start to see OpenGate come to more cameras. But I don't know if it's going to be... It depends. Honestly, it depends on what Panasonic and Fuji and Sony do, because then it might force Canon into doing it. But it's on the roadmap. It's coming.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned internal RAW recording, because I also want to promise everybody, like, this really was last minute. I just asked him last minute.
Yes.
But he actually brings up, I was like, I'll bring up another talking point. One of the reasons why I think OpenGate is coming also because they see the writing on the wall and they do the catch up, and they have also other things to catch up to. One of them is RAW. Now, of course, they output Apple ProRes RAW to Atomos recorders, and September they're going to output Blackmagic RAW to the video assist cameras. However, I hope and think that they may try to do a sneaky slide-in update where they put either I think they'll maybe put Blackmagic or Apple ProRes RAW internally into the FX3 or in the FX30 in September when that Blackmagic RAW, because if you actually look at it, if you think of the 5 camera companies that really are like serious video companies, Sony, Canon, Panasonic, Nikon now Nikon with their acquisition of Red, and Blackmagic Design, they're the only one that doesn't have internal RAW recording. Canon has RAW recording all the way down to R6 Mark II. Blackmagic has been having internal RAW since the beginning. Panasonic now has Apple ProRes RAW. Nikon has their own in-RAW and Apple ProRes RAW internally. Sony's the only one that does not offer an internal RAW recording of those 5 companies.
And Sony's under a bit of pressure too, because let's bring up, the elephant in the room with Sony right now. Unlike the first decade, Sony is just giving us recycled cameras. So the A7S3, great camera, July or August of 2020 came out, and then we saw them take that technology and put it to a ton of cameras. The A7C, the ZV series, camera after camera after camera got that. Other cameras, the A7R5, a terrific camera. Well, did we see that in the A7CR? We see the A7 IV capabilities coming out of the FX2. That's basically a video-centric version. So they keep reusing parts. And what I'm looking forward to see Sony doing is move away from this ROI period where they're trying to capitalize on the investment that they built up becoming the #1 mirrorless, and then come out with some surprises. And I think OpenGate would be one way of doing that. But I would be expecting them to release a camera like the A7V or what's the other one we're waiting for Sony, the big one?
The A7S2? The A7S4?
Yeah, the A7S4. And people say it's not going to come, but this is Sony, the company that didn't just replace the A7C, they kept it, gave us the A7C2 and the A7CR. They like keeping a crowded lineup. So I can see them doing an A7 IV, an FX3 update. They already did a minor one, and I didn't even see that coming. I talked to somebody in the know, and they said, you're not expecting any major update from Sony this year for either the FX3 or the FX6. And that's what we're seeing. Remember, the FX3 is all it is essentially the innards of the A7S3, and we just got a refresh, and it wasn't a huge refresh, right? So that's what I want to see. And I think with the A7V, it has the potential to give us a whole new set of specs and chips, and then give us OpenGate, and that would be a big 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of OpenGates of the alpha line of cameras outside of the A7S potential A7S4, that's the one that you could see it. But my feeling is they won't do it for the A7 IV simply because that's always been seen as their entry-level hybrid camera, not necessarily.
You bought the camera. You want new stuff, buy a new camera. No, that's how Sony thinks is, you bought this camera with the specs, you're happy with it, so don't expect more specs. If you want more specs, go to our new camera. And that's one of the biggest complaints of lack of firmware updates. People spend $6,000 on the Alpha 1, and they're seeing the A7CR, the A7 II, or even ZV cameras coming out with better specs, and they're going like, really? That's the one.
Yeah, I'll push back. I don't like pushing back on terms for Sony, but I'm gonna just push back just a little bit because in terms, I fully agree with you. That's how they are with their alpha cameras. Yes. Their FX line of cameras is very different. They've been milking the FX3 with updates and firmware updates constantly. So that's why I think the FX, in terms of the FX3 and the FX30, potentially getting OpenGate, especially since this summer they're going to get that 1.5. What is the point of the 1.5D squeeze if you can't use OpenGate? Because OpenGate is like best suited for that 1.5, the 3x2. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say OpenGate. 3x2 aspect recording is ideal for 1.5D squeeze. So that to me, at least for me, what would be the point of the 1.5D squeeze if we're not going to basically get OpenGate? Maybe not in the summer, maybe not during that firmware update, but potentially with the September update with Blackmagic RAW, because that's around IBC. So that's a big time for them as well. For that, let's just hit the comment sections real quickly. Michael basically says, that's not fair. Then why not put it in their pro cameras? I think he's having the same sort of feeling that you are having, Simon, that, there's a lot of effort being put in sort of like these entry levels or these newer cameras, but these pro cameras that there's people spent $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on, they're not seeing it. And I'm definitely with them. I feel like in terms of, again, the alpha cameras, they really need to work on trying to keep those things up to date to keep their satisfied haptics. The FX gives a little bit of wiggle room, but totally agree. Let's see here. So, Chris, thank you for joining. Yes, I did I traded in my C70 for the FX3. And the reason why I did that was because I was doing a lot of work where it was either myself or one other person, and logging around the C70 was getting very wearing, because versus having something like not the FX3 but the C70, walking around with the C70 was getting a little weary, and there was some digital noise artifacts that I started seeing that kept bothering me, that after I went to just take a look at the FX3, tried it out, and then once I tried it out, I really enjoyed it, so I basically just did a trade-in and paid only like $850 for like a used FX3. The C70 is still a great camera. It's still an awesome camera. There was just, in terms of getting it to the standard of quality that I like, it was a little bit more work than I started noticing that I didn't want to do. But there is that. And then I see Charles. Charles, thank you for joining the chat. Let's see here. So, whoops. Hold on, let me move some things again. This is
what happens when you try a new streaming platform for the first time without testing it. I was talking to James earlier because he was having trouble with one. I said, look, you got to try Ecamm. It's what I use. It's amazing. It's so incredible. You have so many tools that when you first use it, it becomes a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah. And I was testing it out. Then I didn't get enough tested, but right now I've got kind of getting the hang of it. Charles says, I don't think the FX or the Alpha lines will get open gate. Sony will just release major updates today for the Murano, no open gate. That is totally fair, and that's a honestly, I think that is a very likely scenario that they may not. The reason why, again, I'm saying is because specifically the FX3 and the FX30 are getting 1.5D squeeze. Also, Sony is very much aware of the need and demand for open gate. And the FX3, at least for me, the FX3 and the FX6 make the most sense because they're not resolution intensive. They're low resolution sensors. So you don't have to worry about, they're absolute workhorses. So you can throw something like a 3x2 recording option where you're only increasing a slightly bit of resolution vertically for 4.2K, and it won't affect the processing too much where you may have to worry as much with something like a Murano or something like the FX30 that has like a 7K sensor, if I remember correctly, where these higher resolution cameras may be a little bit more difficult to do than say something like. So again, I want to just say this right now. I don't have any inside information that says that open gate is definitely coming. It's just the comments that they made on Mondo's interview, along with the updates that we do know it's coming specifically for the FX3 and the FX30 and the FX6. Open gate coming at least to the FX3 and the FX6 makes sense because I believe those are the easiest ones to implement currently. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. And I stand behind the FX3 being the standard workhorse. Sony introduced the FX3, creating a completely new segment. And for 4 years, What's that, Canon? Nope, nothing. Okay. Panasonic? Nope. Crickets. Only now are Nikon and Canon and Panasonic starting to pay attention. But what I'm really curious to see, and I think everybody's quietly waiting to see what happens here. Nikon, they purchased Red. They have an opportunity to come out with a camera that not only stands up against the FX3, 6, and 9, but to offer a better product in each of those categories. So Nikon is rumored to be working on a ZR, which is supposed to be a camera with Red technology in it. We'll just have to wait and see at what price point it comes at and what it does. But I am waiting to see Nikon, because if Nikon drops the mic, well, then it's going to force everybody to really compete in that space. And, because I think what Sony's done with the FX line is incredible. Not just the FX3. Nobody ever talks about the FX30, which is almost identical, but it's got an APS-C and it's half the price. It's $1798, right? It's list price when it came out. So those are my thoughts on that. I mean, what do you think of the FX30? Because no one ever talks about it.
Oh, I mean, the FX30s for the cost is a great little camera. Maybe it's the YouTube. Maybe a lot of the bigger YouTubers don't talk about it. I'll just tell you this: here in Philadelphia, the tri-state area, Philadelphia, Delaware, New York, Jersey, there's a lot of people that I know that are serious cam ops, serious DPs that own FX30s because they're small, they're compact, they're easy to work with, and with APS-C, secondly, it's an APS-C sensor. There's a lot of lenses that are available for them that they can work with, and one of my friends, in fact, told me that he rents out his FX30 and he's made so much money off of the FX30 that he could outright buy like a Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro 12K, but he already had it, so he didn't need to buy it. But they're quite popular. I know you gotta go soon, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this next thing really quickly, which is with Fujifilm, because we're talking about open gate. So, Fujifilm essentially has released the details of their new high-end medium format camera. They've basically released the specs ahead of City Gear, and this is they released it late last evening, and right here.
We lost the audio. Are you still there?
I'm here. You hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, now we can hear you. It was just dead silence.
Yeah. No. I put audio follows video on my A10 Mini. So that was me. But we now got an optical low pass filter that we know is coming. So it's going to offer these formats. It's going to offer 4x3 open gate. So it's using the full real estate. It's going to offer the horizontally DCI, and then Premista. They're going to offer 8K DCI, but that's going to be pixel by pixel. Super 35 DCI, and then 35, which is full frame DCI. But here's a list of the specs. So this is an interesting thing that is happening here, which if you'll see here, the open gate, even though it's a 100 megapixel sensor, the resolution is actually going to be UHD. So it's going to be 3840 horizontally of resolution and 2880 vertically. So it looks, now what we don't know about this form is it using oversampling? Is it line skipping? Is it pixel binning? That we don't know. But to me, it's clear it's not going to use, if you're looking to hopefully get the full 102 megapixel resolution, you're not going to get it with this camera. It's also going to have a lot of the similar options from the GFX 100, which is using the same sensor and same processor, Cine 5.8K. It's going to have a DCI 8K, but again, that is a pixel to pixel. So it's going to be more like a Super 35 8K option versus like full frame or medium format. And then you got all these other options with permissive vision, 35 full frame 35 millimeter and 35 millimeter anamorphic, and then we got some Super 35s. So the codecs, they're going to have all the lovely flavors of Apple ProRes, of 10-bit Apple ProRes, along with H.265. And they're going to give you proxy options of Apple ProRes proxy or H.264 proxy. You will be able to output either 10-bit 422 or uncompressed or 12-bit RAW out of the camera. You'll get access to all the film simulations that are in the Fujifilm. They've got some development of simulations for 3D LUTs for F-Log2. So if you like a film simulation but you want to use F-Log2 or F-Log2C, that's going to be in it. Other things that we are aware of is that it's going to have an internal storage. It's going to have built-in electronic ND filters, and it's going to have a hot swappable battery where you'll be able to use the battery of the GFX 100 along with with a V-mount system. So you'll get the chance to use V-mount if you want to, or you'll be able.
I think internal ND filters is going to become more of a thing. I see that growing, and I've seen enough patent applications from Canon to know they've not only been working on them, but they got patent diagrams, figures that actually show two body styles, the R5 body style and the R1 body style. Very detailed. These are not that boxy camera where they don't want to give you any details. It's clearly showing, and it's across several patents. It's not just one. That's something I would like to see, to actually have physical internal ND filters. Quality, of course, because the last thing you want is, them to do it half-assed and then it's just added cost. But that is something I would really like to see. And does it belong in a mirrorless camera, James?
Well, I think we've already crossed the path with mirrorless cameras of like what belongs in. The problem isn't if it belongs in the mirrorless camera. The problem is mirrorless cameras are just not big enough. It's a physics problem.
No, the Canons, they've shown that with their patent application, because it's not an overheating issue. They've shown that where they can actually put it in. Let me see if I can find it here, because I keep every single patent application I do, I keep. I can probably find it to you and tell you which one it is.
Sure. Yeah, I've sure. If you can find it, that would be great. The reason why I was just bringing that up is, and I was answering because it's like every single person or representative that I've found that's talking about in terms of mirrorless cameras and the size of mirrorless cameras like an FX3 or a Panasonic S1 II is that they're too small. They're too small to house a built-in ND system properly. That if you want NDs, you have to make the body big. The bodies have to be bigger, and if people are willing to get bigger bodies for electronic NDs, they could. Again,
I want a smaller body. I don't want to get fat.
Well, no one likes to get fat, but that's the way it goes when you don't take care of yourself. I know that for sure. But yeah, to me, it's just more just a physics problem. It's just like the bodies are physically just too small for a proper ND tray system, especially like the hard ND trays.
Let me show you.
Is in the Canon C70, the C80, and the C400. They're just too small.
Let me share something with you then. It should be showing up on your screen, or it's requesting for me to share.
Let's see here. Let me try to...
Tells me I'm sharing, so maybe this will show instead of me. I don't know if you have to do anything. Sometimes I do this on my channel. There
it goes.
It just goes. Okay, so this is patent application, Japanese patent application, JP 2023-128-253, and there's about 6 patent applications that talk to this. And here we can see what is like an R5, R6 style camera, and they're showing that where it can fit in, which is right around here. And if we take a look at some of again, you're seeing the size and the type of camera. And that's where it is. Look at that internally. You can see, go back here. Looking around 1010 as the reference numerals, and here you're looking at around 200, 160 as the reference materials, or reference numerals, and it's showing in that second image how the ND filters flip in and flip out. And then here's a top-down view of it, and you can see they fit in there very tight. It's not a huge body in terms of the aspect ratio, but that could be an R5C, it could be an R5. Like that looks like an R5C. That looks more like an R5, and they also show like R1 style bodies as well. So, and to give you an idea, that's one patent application. There's also, let's go to a different view here. Let's go to list so I can. It's too many. But there's several of them. I can't even read. Oh, there we go. So. JP 2023 127 217, 128 193, 128 221, 128 236, 128 253, and 129 247. There's actually more than that, but if you want to watch this video later and freeze it, you can pull out the individual patents and look at it. And the diagrams are great. They're really, really detailed. And that's where I get excited about this stuff. And that's why I read patent applications every day. I'm a patent geek now. And I don't just read the how they solve it and the problem. I actually read the scope and the description. And where I can, when I cover them, James, is I actually try to color code parts of the patent so people know what we're talking about. But that shows research and development, and a lot of research and development.
No. So thank you for sharing that, Simon. I really do appreciate. I really do appreciate that. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, right now they're showing the patent. Whether it's actually practical yet, we don't know. Obviously, we won't even see the practical until we get into sort of the real world regarding it. But yeah, look, internal NDs is always in demand. If it as technology progresses, I hope somebody finds out a way to do it. I just know there's a lot of physical limitations in terms of mirrorless cameras right now. So I'll keep my hopes up, but I'm not banking on my hopes. I'm not going to be disappointed if mirrorless cameras do not get internal NDs, just because I understand for right now what the physical limitations are going to be.
So think from...
Go ahead.
I'm just holding up a camera that came out last year. And for those of you that are old like me, just think, in my hand, I'm holding a camera that can shoot 45 million pixels per image. 45 million. 16-bit color, or 12-bit color. What 16-bit color would make more sense? 16 to 24-bit color. Can also shoot video. 8K video, up to 60 frames per second. 60 frames a second at 45 million pixels. It has a little TV on the back of it. It has another TV in the EVF. I'm just shocked. When I actually step back and think about the technology that enables us to do what we do, it's unbelievable that something so small can do that. We used to have big cameras, and where we're going, James, if we do get internal ND filters, wow, that'll make me happy. I was just so happy to get waveforms in Canon Log 2.
Yeah, I will not be a grump if we get internal NDs. I'm not gonna grump that at all. So definitely, I'm hoping that would be the case. Because to get small cameras like that, again, I would. What is your thoughts though on the Erterna though? Sort of what the specs that you are hearing.
Well, it's going to be a good solid camera. It really is. And anybody who's bought into a space is going to look at this and say, this is a realistic opportunity for me. I think what camera companies are doing right now is they're trying to produce cameras to protect their base. We've got a market that's mostly stabilized. Some of them are actually trying to do things to attract more people. But it's very interesting. What we're seeing with Canon for the past, since 2018, is they're chasing that high end. So when you see a picture of the Olympics or football where you see people down the line with cameras, you're seeing them mostly with Canon. And Canon's been chasing that. We've seen very little affordable in terms, you get the R50, the R100, but where are the lenses to go with that? That's a big problem. Where Sony you've got the lenses, and Sony said, okay, we've worked so hard. We're number one in mirrorless now. Now we're going to sit back and relax because we've done enough for 10 years. We're just going to sit back, relax, and try to make more money off this stuff.
Yeah.
Panasonic?
Well, I'll push back a little bit on Canon's like lack of lenses. They have, to me, Canon has some of the great in terms of quality, quality of what the lenses they produce. They're some of the best. In terms
no
of
doubt.
from a photography. Obviously, like third party electronic lenses with autofocus is what everybody's hoping for. It's like more affordability. That will be coming, but because everybody's always I just want to clear, for me at least, I don't like chasing quantity. Is not in terms of lenses. I'd rather get good quality glass. And say what you want about Canon, and I think it was a big mistake that they limited the RF mount. It was a huge mistake on their behalf, but I'm not going to also knock them that they came out the gate swinging when they first announced the RF mounts with trying to actually do something different. Like the lenses that they came.
I'm going to hit them. Let me hit them for a moment. So when they came out with 3 lenses, 3
Knock
very expensive lenses.
Knock them out the box, son.
Here you go. The 24-105 f4 was the most affordable lens they came out with, and we had to wait a long time for them to populate. You're right. All those lenses, high optical quality. I'm not dogging them or knocking them for that. That is really high quality stuff. They've done a great job there. But the problem is there's focal lengths that are missing in the lineup. There's holes in the lineup. So people wait, and they get tired of waiting. Sigma's coming out with some really incredible lenses, 12 millimeter, I think f1.4 or f1.8. They're also coming out with a 70-400 fixed f1.8. That's pretty incredible. That's incredible stuff that excites people in the APS-C. With Canon and the APS-C, all we've been getting is those, very affordable pancake lenses, primes, or kit lenses that, once you know anything about a camera, you ditch it and you just buy the body.
Yeah. Look, I definitely agree in terms of APS-C. I'm just for full frame. I was making the case more so for the full frame, but I definitely hear you on that. For me,
You're
at
right.
least with the GFX Eterna, I give props to Fujifilm for doing something that I've kind of been frustrated with Panasonic about, and that is building out your ecosystem that is scalable. With the GFX, this GFX Eterna, you've now got a medium format cinema camera. Now, it's going to, most likely everybody's going to compare it to the Ursa Cine 17K. And this will determine how a lot of things I think people will look at it when the price, which they still haven't released the price yet of the GFX Eterna. So we're still waiting to see about that. The Ursa Cine 17K is $30,000 or like $31,000, $32,000 if you get the kit. And it's like $25,000 if you body only. For a lot of people, they're probably going to look and say the Ursa Cine 17K is going to be a big winner if Fujifilm tries to market this closer to that. And I don't know, especially now with we know a lot. I think we know close to the final specs of what this camera is going to be. I don't know that because there's a lot of things about the Ursa Cine 17K that I don't think people really have thought this through. So, one, while it is the 17K is technically a medium format, and it's only bigger horizontally compared to its little brother, the Ursa Cine 12K, the 3x2 full frame one. It's 30% bigger. Vertically, it's the same height as the Ursa Cine 12K. So unless you're shooting that 2:1 aspect ratio or the 2:1 aspect ratio recording options, there isn't really any benefit. And you're losing built-in NDs because they're using the same body as the Ursa Cine 17K, but they didn't build out big, because they're using the same body, the cartridge that would need to fit the width of that sensor there's not enough space for that. So there's no built-in NDs in this camera. The readout speed, I will say this, the readout speed is definitely, if the GFX is anything to sort of look at of what we could expect for the Fujifilm Erterna, the Ursa Cine 12A is going to beat it because it's doing like 8 milliseconds 6 milliseconds, like 13 milliseconds readout speeds, and then doing things like crazy things like 17K at 60 frames a second. Even though it's technically they have 8K, but it's technically 10K at 100 frames a second. Like really insane resolution and frame rate recording options. But there's also a lot of limitations. Again, no NDs. It is pretty much, it's the same height as the Ursa Cine 12K, which is significantly cheaper than that. A lot of the recording options are essentially the same as the Ursa Cine 12K as well. And that's at a price of like $30,000. If Fujifilm puts this, say, around $15,000, $18,000, I know for a lot of people that's going to say that still seems out of price range, but for a medium format cinema camera, which before these two cameras, there really wasn't anything like this that you could actually buy. With Fujifilm giving you 3x2, 4x3 open gate, giving you internal electronic NDs, giving you a lot more. I think it's going to be extremely popular for running gun filmmaking. People are going to complain about the readout speed. That's going to happen. But if you've seen the images that came out of the GFX 102, it's been great. Now the question, again, the only question I have is how is that scaling? How is the scaling happening for the open gate? Is it pixel binning? Is it line skipping? Or is it oversampling? I'm taking a bet that it's doing some sort of line skipping, like the 4K option is line skipping.
I hate to say this, James, but I have to go.
I know. I appreciate it. I know you only said you had 30 minutes, but I thank you again, Simon, for coming on here and we having a discussion about this. And thank you again for joining, man. I really appreciate you coming out and supporting the channel. So, everybody, if you get a chance, stop by Ordinary Filmmaker. If you're not subscribed to the channel, really do. He does a lot of journalism. He does a lot of breaking of news with a lot of cameras that you guys are excited about. Definitely check out his channel.
Yeah, thank you, James. And you've been a good friend. I love. You're the first I always reach out to when I've got a live stream because I love your viewpoint as a director of photography. It's, I learn a lot. Sometimes I think I know things and I don't. And it's great to have you there to correct me and help me provide the audience with information, factual information. And I don't know if you have any idea how much I appreciate that. So thank you. And if you're sitting and watching and you're not subscribed to James, give him a surprise, subscribe and like.
Surprise. Yes, give it a surprise subscribe. A surprise subscribe.
Give him a surprise. No, James, I thank you. And look, I will probably see you on my channel, probably coming up. The R6 is starting to shape up to be an interesting camera. And we got the R7 this year. And of course, we've got something from Nikon. So I think we got at least 3 streams in us this year. Thank you, my friend. I got to get back to my day job now.
All right. Take care, man. All right. So thank you guys. I want to thank Simon for being here. So I've given my thoughts on the GFX Eterna. Let's go to the comments and see what you guys are saying. My buddy Loud and Clear. Thank you. Hey, man, how you doing? Thank you for joining. I really appreciate this. Let's see here. What both Sony and Fuji lack in raw coding, anything even approaching red or B-raw. Without that, it doesn't matter much, especially at that price point. Totally agree. I totally agree with me. I think, like I said at the top, with me and Simon, is that Sony's. I haven't included Fujifilm yet because they still have a little bit more to go before I consider them as one of the big video camera companies. Just from my take, that's personally. Everybody else is it. But the 5 are Canon, Sony, Panasonic, Nikon, Blackmagic, and of those 5, Sony is the only one that doesn't have internal RAW recording. So clearly the competition sees this, and we now know that red patent is not going to be a big deal. So hopefully this will change, and we'll be able to look things over. So let's look here. Sorry, guys. This is new. All right, and fishing reel. Thank you for joining, man. So I think maybe a 4/3 Super 35 crop mode like Panasonic's S5, maybe added down the line. I honestly I wish so many companies would just do that. I think everybody should offer that. I said Sony should offer like a 3.2K 4x3 option, because Super 35 4x3 is like, for the longest time, was like film standard, and it's a perfect option, especially if you're doing anamorphics of different kinds. I personally would love to see that, and I think that would be a great option. So yeah, I'm totally with you, man. Totally with you on that. Let me move this here. King Crook, hey man. Looks like you guys are chatting, which is good. So he said, Lau says, I mean, Erterna isn't exactly running gun setup. You're going to need a robust codec with a camera because heavy post work will be expected. I don't know if I agree with that, man. Only because it's offering ProRes as an option, which is a very robust codec. Yes, but if you look at the recording options that it has, a lot of them are not insane. Again, they don't have any 12K recording options. The highest that they have is 8K, and that is a pixel-to-pixel option. So it's not even shooting the full GF medium format real estate. So it's a heavy crop. Then all the other options are like 5.8K and 4K options. So I don't know if I see that as outside of maybe the open gate. But even then, it depends on how are they bringing it down to those lower resolutions. Is it downsampling? Then yes, it's going to be a lot of data processing. Is it going to be line skipping or pixel binning? That we don't know. We don't know that. So I don't expect this to be a lot of actually heavy codecs for this camera. And again, given the fact that there's a lot of, they're coming with XLRs, they're coming with the electronic NDs, I feel like this will be a lot more of a running gun setup. And I'm comparing, and by the way, I'm also comparing this to the Ursa Cine 17K. Sorry, had a brain fart. The Ursa Cine 17K, which is a big boy, and it's like roughly 20 pounds on its own. That's definitely not a running gun camera. You're definitely going to want to have sticks or really do some rigging up in easy rig. This one may be potential, but we shall see. So let's see. So in terms of readout speeds, fishing, we don't know. We don't know, but we do know the processor and the sensor is from the GFX 100, which, if I remember correctly, the only way to get to like 15 milliseconds was like if you shot in the DCI if you shot in the 5.8K mode, either the 5.8K mode or the DCI or UHD 4K modes. Everything else was really like, or you shot in the 8K mode, but even then actually the readout speed was very slow for that one too. So I want to tell you right now, if I would expect the same readout speeds as the GFX 100. They've pretty much said most of this is, in terms of performance, is very similar to the GFX 100. So I expect that. So I personally expect that, where similar readout speeds. Whereas the Ursa Cine 17K, there's actually, Blackmagic actually released the readout speeds, and they're anywhere between 6 milliseconds and I think the slowest is like 16 milliseconds. I think that's the slowest. Everything else is like in the 12 to 8 millisecond. 12 to 7 millisecond range, which is, which again tells you for a medium format camera, it's extremely, extremely fast. So let's go down here. Loud says, does the elusive X106 have internal NDs? And it's tiny. So technically, yes, it does. And I think, but Kofi made a very good point. But the thing is, it's only one filter tray, one stop. It's only one X stop of NDs. It's not a filter tray that you have to rotate. Whereas that ND can just engage and turn on, and it's only one stop. So it's not a variable. That one doesn't have a variable ND tray, or a very ND system, or an ND tray like is in the C80s, the C70s, and the C400. That's why I said those cameras, they need bigger bodies than the mirrorless cameras or something like that. Yeah. I did. Word. Yep. I knew you would understand. So right now we caught up all the comments, so I think this is a good time to go to our final discussion, which is showing America. That's all I'll say, America. So this came out, news started talking about a lot more, is that President Donald Trump is expecting to sign an executive order. And essentially that executive order is to essentially more or less ban Chinese drones being operational or being used in the United States. So there's an article by The National, which I will cut to here. And you'll see here, it's like Donald Trump expected to cut down, right here. Donald Trump expected to crack down on Chinese drones. President Trump is expected to sign multiple executive orders that amount to an effective ban on Chinese drones in the United States in the coming days, accelerating Washington's crackdown on a company that makes products popular with consumers but has worrying ties to Beijing. So Shenzhen DJI Technology is the world's leading drone manufacturer, favored by photographers and other hobbyists, but its ties to the Chinese Communist Party military have landed it on the U.S. blacklist. The expected executive order could lead to a ban on the sale of new Chinese drones in the United States and block Americans from importing those products and industry. Source. So this was expected to happen either today or tomorrow. So I don't know. It may have happened in the time of the stream, but as of right now, it hasn't happened yet. I will say that I'm trying to look on the positive side. So I'm waiting to see what the final executive orders are going to be, should they come through this week, because they're expected to come this week. And we'll wait and see. Like, maybe it's just if it's just the sales of like new drones, or the sales of drones, or barring any sales of drones. It's not great, but it's not the worst case scenario. But obviously this would shoot up any like demand for drones. So, I look at something like the Air 3S, which I think if this was to go through, if you thought like the Mavic 4 Pro was going to be expensive, the Air 3S is going to skyrocket if this goes through. So I would expect, if that's the case where it's barring sales, then I expect there to be a growing black market for DJI products around in the United States. But if it goes to the situation where they're going to make it to where you cannot fly DJI drones at all in the United States, that's going to, I mean, that's going to be a huge burn for drone operators and drone pilots. I mean, look, I'll just speak for myself. Like, I don't know the politics. I don't know the details of the politics of it. But if this is something where it's becoming so we can be forced to buy American drones, I'll basically just let my drone pilot license expire, and just become a hobbyist. It just sucks that it's just coming this way. Again, the thing that we could see is that if DJI gets audited for this, and an audit happens, and it shows that they have no ties, and hey, they're not a security threat, then they have legal grounds, and there can become that way. But outside of that, doesn't look too good. Yeah. So I'm someone who still flies their drone. I am keeping an eye on this one quite a bit, and we'll see how things goes. I may be trying to make more trips outside of the United States. We'll just say that. But I would love to know what you guys think in terms of commentaries, in terms of what do you think of this potentially happening? What does this mean? What does this also mean for other products besides drones? Well, could this affect sales of things like the Osmo series of products? Could it affect the Ronin series of products? So I would love to know what you guys think. Let me know, and we'll have a conversation. But like I said, this is the one where it's an interesting time. It's an interesting time in America, to say the least. Let's see. Don't see any new comments, but I'll keep an eye out for them. Otherwise, if this is the case, I'll probably just go ahead and just nobody has any thoughts. I'll just go ahead and just end the stream, and because we're hitting about an hour, and I don't want to keep you too long and just keep and bore you guys. But yeah, so it looks like, but yeah, so let me see. So a couple things I'll just sort of keep up. I'll let you guys know about what's going on in the channel. I have 3 new products that I'm going to be reviewing over the coming weeks. These are some very affordable products that have really impressed me, that I bought with my own money. So I don't have it. There's not any paid promotions or anything like that. But these were stuff that I just bought, and I've been having a blast with them. So I'm gonna make reviews about that. I'm gonna keep watching City Gear, and then I've got some behind the scenes stuff that I'm gonna put up for members, because if you guys don't know, I do have a members thing. It's only $5, so it's $5 a month. But if you guys join, I'm going to just put some exclusive stuff up there, and also some work a lot more with Resolve. I was going to put out DaVinci, my top 5 favorites of DaVinci Resolve. However, there seems to be a bug happening with Resolve 20 that it's not affecting the main things, but there's a certain AI tool that I love using that for some reason is just not working right now. So I've kind of put on a hold till I see if there's maybe an update or something like that, and keep it pushing. Looks like this is the end of that. So I'm just gonna not hold you guys anymore, and I'm just going to end the stream. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. Before you go, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and keep an eye out for the content that I'll have going forth. And as always, until next time, take care, everyone.